I've been working with Julien Lasseur, who's producing a piece for Hurlbut Visuals, Shane and Lydia down there in the LA town. And I did this little animation thing for Julien, and he said, "Oh, that's really great." And I said, "Well, it's not that hard." And he goes, "Oh, that just annoys me that you can do it, so quickly." And I said, "Well, I don't know, maybe we should do a tutorial." He said, "Oh, you should totally do a tutorial." So I want to show you this. It's not that big a deal. It's this little swirly thing and then a little drifty. And it dawned on me that, yeah, I'm not a big time animator, 3D guy at all, but a lot of, quote unquote video people need to put a little bit of animation into things that they do. And I told him this really wasn't that hard, but I figured I'd do it. I'd break it down and show you what I'm doing. So basically I was given an EPS file from Hurlbut Visuals. And so the letters, they write on, so you're going to have to deal with that. And then the twirly things, the swirls, do a little twirly and dissolve in. And then it does a little grow. And of course we type on the copyright thing. So I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you exactly how I did this. Now, number one, you go to the files that you get. Now, I was given this file, and when I click on these things, this is an Illustrator file, and when I click on anything here, it selects all of it. Now, although I could come down here and go ungroup, okay, that got a word, ungroup again, now I got a letter. So basically what you do is you're going to have to make it sounds like a pain, and it is, you're going to make a layer rather, for every single thing. Now there's a good Illustrator trick I want to show you here. So basically what I do is I realize there's 14 letters and there's 3 swirls. If you look at it, there's one there, and there's one there, and there's one there. So there's 3 swirls and 14 layers. And oddly enough, this project, or this file, had 4 layers in it, and number 2 had all the business in it, so who knows. But basically, once I've ungrouped all this stuff, and I'm going to ungroup again, once you ungroup all the stuff, I can go in and I can drag things to new layers. Now here's the trick to doing it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor up here, and I said 14 letters and 3 swirls. There's 3 blank layers, so I need 14 more layers. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now I'm not going to do all of this, but basically what you do is I make a layer called H, and then I select the H, and you see how I get a little red dot there? Now I could copy and paste it to the layer, but it's a drag because it doesn't go in the exact same place all the time. So I drag this little guy up, and boom, now you see that icon. Actually, let me make my icons a little bigger here so they're easier to see. Am I doing that right? Yeah. So now the H is big, or the H is on its own layer, and when I turn that off, boom. Okay, so and basically you go through the whole layer and you do the whole project, and you do that, and each guy will get its own layer. Now don't worry that these look different sizes, it's just the way it scales it as an icon. And you just drag that up, you drag it up, and you're gonna wanna you're gonna wanna tell it, what all these letters are, so you don't go crazy. Now when I'm given a file, that would be this one here, the logo white original, I put it in my originals folder. Now once I've doctored it and diddled it and made it just the way I want it, I move it up to my EPS folder. And the reason for that is I don't want to mess up the original file. So if I open up my EPS file, you can see I've done a couple of things. One, here's my Easy Bake Oven version. I have all the things broken down, all 14 letters and the 3 swirls. And I've actually scaled it up. Now, EPS files don't need to be, you can scale them up infinitely, but I like to have them be roughly the size of the document that I'm going to use, that I'm going to do, and I did this at 1920, 1080. So now I have each one of my things as its own layer. So now I'm going to go into After Effects. Now, in After Effects, what I'm going to do is into my EPS folder. Now you see I've already done this once. I'm going to import, Command-I, the file, and that would be in my EPS folder, and there it is, Hurlbut Logo white. Now I don't know what this is going to do because it's going to have 2, but here's the trick: import as composition retain layer size. Now you don't always want to do retain layer size, but in this particular one I do because of the swirls, and I'm going to get to that in a second. So then I hit that, and it does it. So here's the file, and one of these is the folder. Now the folder should have all the parts in it. You don't worry about that, and it has to be an Illustrator file, not an EPS file. So I'm going to double click on the Hurlbut Logo white, and you can see now I have a layer for each thing over time, and I have the thing, and if I look at the composition settings, it tells me it's at 1292 by 634.8 or whatever. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Command K, or I don't know what it is, composition settings, and I'm going to make this 1920 by 1080. Okay, so there's my comp in a timeline that is roughly the size. Now, and I'm going to rename this just demo so I don't mess up anything I've already done. Now, if I go back to the QuickTime file and show you what it looks like again, you can see the swirls. We're going to do one thing at a time. First thing we're going to do is we're going to write on all the letters. Okay, now you can see they're kind of blurring on, right? It's not that hard. It's a pretty simple thing. Basically what you do is I'm going to take one of the letters, we're going to do the H, and you see it's highlighted there, and I'm going to use the letter T for opacity, and I'm going to put a keyframe there, and I'm going to step forward 10 frames, and I'm going to put another keyframe, and then I'm going to go to the first keyframe. Actually, I'm not going to do anything yet. I'm going to come up here to Gaussian blur, and on the first keyframe I'm going to blur it by 15, and I'm going to make a keyframe. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to have it come to 0. So as I step forward in time, it pulls into focus. And then what I'm going to do is on my first keyframe, I am going to turn the opacity down. So now as it dissolves in, you see that? It pulls into focus and dissolves in. Now what I do, if I hit the letter U, I get all my keyframes, and actually I want to do an ease in on this. Easy ease, ease in. I can't believe I'm doing an After Effects demo. This is so silly. I'm such a hack in After Effects. So I'm going to copy all those keyframes and I'm going to propagate those over all of my layers. Now they will all do it the same way, but I want to stagger them. Okay. Now there's probably some really cool way, like, oh, you got to use expressions or whatever. I don't know how to do that, and I'm assuming you don't either if you're watching my After Effects demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold down the Command key and go arrow, arrow. I'm going to step forward 2 frames, and then I'm going to grab all the other letters, and I'm going to very carefully slide that up 2 frames. Then I'm going to step forward two more frames, and I'm going to, holding down the Command key still, I'm going to click on the one that I don't want to move now and move the rest of them up 2 frames. See how that works? So I deselect that one, step forward, deselect, move, step forward, deselect, move. And you're holding down the Option key the whole time. So anyway, you do that for all of them. Do I want to do this? Yeah, I probably just should. Sorry, this is going to take just a little bit, but you know, you can always fast forward. Step forward. You bored yet? Okay. And I do that right. Looks like I did it right. And I'm going to just put my cursor down here, press the letter N for the end range, and hit the 0 key, and there it is writing on. Okay, so that part worked. Now, the reason we did retain layer size is that each one of these little guys, the swirlies, I want those to rotate on a center axis. So basically, if again, let's go back to our little demo file. What did I do here? I twirled them in different rotations, and I twirled one of them. I twirled 2 of them a full rotation and one of them a half rotation, and that kind of gave it the sort of random swirly swirl. Nothing's random in animation. So first thing I got to do is I got to make everything 3D. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all this stuff and hit the little checkbox here, and now each one has a 3D thing. Now, even though these don't line up vertically, they're close enough so it kind of works for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rearrange these 1, 2, 3. So swirl 1, I'm going to hit the R for rotation, and I'm going to do a Y rotation. So I'm going to put one keyframe here, and then I'm going to go forward, I don't know, I think I did like a second and a half. Let's do a second and a half. And then what I'm going to do here, actually I'm going to put a keyframe here. Actually, let's do that on all of them. Let's go R for rotate, and that'll put a keyframe on the Y point, and then come back here and do the keyframe on the other two. Now, on the first one, let's do -1 rotation. And then on the second one, we're going to do a +1 rotation. And on this one, we're going to do 180 degrees. And by doing that, I'm going to see that they kind of look sort of randomy, and then they land. Okay, that's cool. And then I'm going to do the same opacity. Let's select these three guys, hit the letter T for opacity, kick a keyframe there, come to the beginning of my thing, and then I'm going to fade them all out. And then I'm going to do the same blur trick. So I'm going to do 15 frames there and click OK. And does that do it on all of them? I think that only did it on one of them. Yeah, it only does it on the one. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change my blur to 0. And then I'm going to keyframe easy ease in all of these. And I'm going to take these blur keyframes and I'm going to paste them here, and I'm going to paste them there, and do all of these easy ease in. And if I hit the letter U here, you see I have the blurs. So then they go like that, and then all the letters come in. But then what I'm going to do is I want to delay when the letters start to come in, so I'm going to just shift click all of those, and there's the logo spinning. And then I'll probably pull that in a little. It's really lame when you have things like one thing happens, next thing happens. It's always nice to have things overlap a little bit, I find. Okay, and then the last trick I'm going to do, I'm going to do a thing called a null object. So I'm going to go null object, and I'm going to name it. I hit the return key. I like to call it the grower, because it's going to make everything grow. And then what I'm going to do is at the end of my 10 seconds, because somehow I determined that's how long that wanted to be. Now let's do it at the end of the comp. At the end of the comp, I'm going to make a scale on the grower, and then at the beginning of the comp, I'm going to make another keyframe. And I'm going to start this at about, I think I did 85% on this. So see how the little red box there is growing? So what I do is I put my cursor at the end, at the 100%, I select all of these bad boys, and I use this little dealie called the pick whip, and I say attach that to the grower. So now they all, the twirls spin, the letters write on, and the thing grows out. And then the last thing that I did, if I look at my actual logo here, is I put a little background on it. And I didn't want just a black background. So what I did is I took, gee, should I do this? How long have I been recording? I'll do it. I'll go new solid, and I'm going to just make a gray solid, and I'm going to put it behind everything. Now, I want to put some lights on it, but all these other things are 3D too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go new light, and we'll click OK. Oh, the solid needs to be 3D. And you see how that works? So now just think like a DP. I want to put a light here, and maybe I want to, I'm going to twirl down the options on my light options. I might pull the intensity down a little, and then maybe I'm going to duplicate that light because I want to have two of them. See how all of a sudden it gets more brighter because there's two lights there. And then I'm going to spin the other guy like this. Maybe pull this over like that. And you spend as much time, this is just like lighting in real life, but you don't have to climb up on a ladder. And maybe I'll take both of those and turn the opacity down. Let's do the same light options here. Not the opacity, but the intensity. So let's turn that to 50, just like the other one. So then you got your little background. Now, the problem is this background. Oh, and there we go. And there's all my stuff. Ah, now see, here's a bummer. See how the word Hurlbut is too dark? What I ended up doing is I decided I wanted it to be white, even though the logo was black. And most companies will allow you to do that. So if I right-click on this layer and come down to Layer Styles, Color Overlay, I can, let's see, where is it? Color Overlay. I can click on this little guy, see how it's red there, and just pick up my white. Now it's white, and then I can select this color overlay and take the rest of the letters in Hurlbut and paste those on. So now I took my black and I very quickly made it to white, and that's kind of my look. Now I'll probably want to put another light forward of these because these lights are kind of on the backdrop. Let me think. If I do a 2 view, where are these lights? Yeah, see how these lights are actually, if I pull it like that and up a little. Oh, you know what it is? I got this pretty dark because I didn't want that. I didn't want the background to be too bright, but I do want more light on the word visual because that's a little too dark. So I'm going to go back to single view because I just like it better. So here, okay, this is getting kind of complicated. What I want to do is I want to take my dark gray and my two lights, and I want to select all of those, and I'm going to pre-compose them into my background layer. Okay. Now, see how the Hurlbut visuals lit up? Okay, so that looks better because technically there's no lights in this composition, and it's more accurate. But it also looks a little flat. And you know, I actually thought about this as I was doing something for Shane Hurlbut, who actually does know how to light stuff. I'm going to pretend I do. I'm going to put one more light on this scene, and see how there's fall off now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Z, I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to have it fall off just a little. See that? Just a little. And now as it animates in, it actually has a little bit more character. So there's my logo. And then I'd put in the little text thing for the copyright, but I won't bother with that. Hit the letter 0 and it'll preview low res. So there we go. And there's a little grow. So that's basically the little Hurlbut Visuals logo that I did for a couple behind the scenes videos I did for Shane and Lydia and Julien down there at Hurlbut Visuals. Thanks for watching. Later.